This is a reading of Thunder Rolling in the Mountains, Chapter 8. We fought the white soldiers again on the banks of the rushing Clearwater. This time many bluecoats died, and we lost 4 warriors. 6 other of our young men were hit, but only one had a bad wound. The soldier's bullet went in the back of his shoulder and came out through his chest. He was shot when he rode his horse close to the bluecoats to show he was a brave man, but he was strong and continued to fight. More than a moon had passed since the battle at White Bird Canyon. The soldiers still followed, but we moved fast, so fast, we had to leave our cattle behind. Looking Glass took us out of the valley and high into the mountains. We traveled towards the rising sun and the country of the crows. The way was hard. Spruce, hemlock, and pine grew close. The trail was narrow and dark. It twisted up the steep mountainside. Boulders choked the path, and sharp rocks cut the horses' feet. Trees felled by spring storms blocked the way. At night we camped. We lived on roots we dug from the ground, and bark we peeled from the trees. When cooked in water, the bark made a soft mush that filled the stomach. Some nights we went to bed hungry. The ponies grazed on the bushes and stiff wire grass. 5 of our warriors stayed behind to scout the back trail for soldiers. The redcoats scouted the trail ahead. My heart was with them, but I helped dig roots, pound bark, and care for the children. Bending Willow now smiled when lifted from her cradle board. It rained every day as we neared the top of the pass. The path grew steeper. Here it was so narrow that we had to get off our horses and lead them. We pressed against the mountain, moving slowly along the edge of the cliff on a carpet of pine needles. Far below us, a stream wound between rock walls. The trail was slippery, but none of our ponies stumbled. At last we reached the summit and started down the other side of the pass. The rain stopped and the sun came out. We reached a place beside a creek where the hot springs came out of the ground. Steam rose from the rocks. Where the water boiled out, it was so hot you could not keep your finger in it. We bathed in shallow pools below the rocks where the water was not so hot. We stayed in the water until we could no longer bear its heat. Then we ran to the creek and plunged into the cold current. The water washed away our weariness. That day our teepees stood in the high grass. Bushes that grew here were made good tea, and we gathered leaves to take with us. There were so many fish in the stream that we called it Salmon Creek. We would have a good meal that night. Water lilies grew in small ponds nearby, and after I washed my hair, I twisted a white flower into each braid. I thought the lilies would make a pretty design for moccasins. As I thought about where I could get some soft deerskin and porcupine quills, the redcoats rode noisily into camp. Wallowitz drew up beside the men who were mending bridles. "Soldiers in front of us," he said. He was out of breath and had to rest between words. "Building fort. They will head us off." Swan Necklace rode to my side and slipped off his horse. "There is danger," he said. He drew me close to him. "The soldiers know our camp. They have drawn logs across the trail so that we cannot pass. They are building a fort. We may have to fight." "This time I will fight too," I said. "There are many guns now. I know how to shoot." Swan Necklace shook his head. "Your father would never permit it," he said. "Fighting is for warriors." He forgot that only 2 moons ago he had been a painter and I had possessed the gun. He never spoke of his colored earths now, and he had not painted on our marriage blanket since we left Wallowa. Fighting is for those who would stand against the white soldiers, I said. Before I could say more, the chiefs left the camp to meet the soldiers, taking the redcoats with them. Looking Glass, White Bird, and Chief Joseph rode in front. My father carried a white flag, swan necklace, red moccasin tops, and wallets followed behind in case the bluecoats opened fire. It was dawn when the peace party returned. The people crowded about them. They heard how our chiefs had stepped off their ponies and walked up to the barricade with empty hands, leaving their guns on their saddles. The soldiers were surprised at their courage, and no one shot at them. We told the chief of the bluecoats that we had only friendship for the people of Montana, said Looking Glass. The firelight flickered on his strong face. Our quarrel is with the soldiers in Idaho. The white captain shook our hand, but told us we must lay down our guns and give up our horses. The warriors began to mutter. I will never give up my gun, shouted Two Moons. He sat on his war horse, looking ready for battle. Never, said Two Hulhulsult. He struck the earth with his war club. We did not want this war, but we will not let the bluecoats take our rifles and horses. I agree, said my father. We cannot do that. But their leader promised no one will attack us if we keep the peace. I advise that we go without talking more. There is a way, said Looking Glass. Once we get past the soldiers, we are free to go into the valley. Before the sun rises, we will be gone. We ate quickly, then made ready to leave this peaceful spot. We took the buffalo skins from our teepees, but left the poles behind to lighten the load. Cooking fires were smothered, coals raked, and the earth heaped over them. The long line of horses moved away from Salmon Creek. We climbed the steep hill on the north slope of the canyon, went around the soldiers, and soon were high above the barricade. Trees screened us, but the bluecoats saw us pass. They did not speak, but they did not shoot. Either the war was over.